Market conditions can change very quickly, and when you see structures break, you need to identify what kind of market that we're in, an uptrend or a downtrend, and the market's always just the market, but we need to figure out what's going to happen next to our magic internet coins. So right now, no matter what expectations you might have had for 2025, I definitely had different expectations up to this point, we need to assess whether we are really truly in a bear market right now, and if so, how long these conditions might actually last. Is this just a short bear market within a wider uptrend of a giant bull market? And look, obviously market conditions have been crazy recently. Altcoins are wrecked, Bitcoin came down super hard, Ethereum's having an existential crisis, Solana mega wrecked. The recent mega rally that came in though following the Trump news, pretty damn exciting. But was that just the final exit pump before mega goblin town? This is 2008 and this is the complacency pump here. Look, it can be difficult to shift the feeling that 2025 should be a crypto bull market. So let's start by asking the obvious question, is this really a bear market? Well, crypto bull runs are infamous for their brutal drawdowns, so it's possible that's what's happening now. It's just another shakeout on the way to new highs. Let's just say a mini bear market or a mini bear trend, downtrend, whatever you want to call it, within a wider bullish market structure. We've seen this before many times in markets. It's not necessarily the 4-year end, no highs for years and years on end, okay? But the Bitcoin chart shows lower highs and lower lows. A monthly trend line has been broken. We've been downtrending for Bitcoin and the entire altcoin space for months now. And this is all what would be anyway, and realistically get some of the later innings of a bull run after Bitcoin already put in a 7x move from the lows and broke its previous all-time high around by 50% or whatever. And of course, we have a very significant trigger for an early-ish end of the bull market in the shape of the trade war that's currently going on. I know we had a nice pump due to a softening of the rhetoric around that, but it's still going on. There's still a lot of uncertain outcomes around what happens between China and USA. It's a big deal. The market thinks it's a big deal. Bitcoin has managed, though, to defend the 50-week EMA, a key bull-bear line, one which has been defended twice before during this particular market cycle, and every defense of that line was terrifying. But here we are again, defending it and likely bouncing from it. However, from another perspective, almost every single coin in crypto right now is trading under its 200-day exponential moving average. I'm recording maybe a few of them like Fartcoin or something, or actually I don't think Fartcoin is, maybe XRP, almost nothing. But anyway, it's the definition of bearish, okay? Trading under the 200-day EMA, not good. But what you really want to know is, will this current downtrend be short-lived, or are we facing another 4 years of eating shit before new highs come in? I'm not in that club, by the way. So then let's start by looking at the worst case scenario, just to get that out of the way. Why this downtrend could be dragged out, and this could be the big 4-year bear market. A typical crypto crash that hits the bottom relatively quickly isn't actually so bad, as it provides the best risk reward opportunities at the bottom, and you don't even have to time it that accurately. But much worse would be a slow, steady grind down that takes a year to find the bottom, maybe more. And that would enter, of course, into concerns around the United States entering a stagflationary period, which has not happened in a very, very long time. In the 1970s, the S&P 500 took 7 years to first crash and then recover to a new all-time high. Savage. Can you imagine if no new high for Bitcoin for 7 years? Also consider that if the market is defensive, then large participants hedging spot positions through Bitcoin ETFs options, for example. That becomes a factor too, with market makers selling puts but needing to hedge short positions and then adjusting positions close to option expiration, which is all a little complicated, but the upshot could be that downward price movement is absorbed more gradually and you get more of a choppy, drawn out, longer process. Think of it walking down the stairs versus falling off a cliff. Remember also that at a macro level, what's happening now politically isn't technically a black swan. It's potentially reshaping the global alignment of trade and economics, though, so that's a big deal. It's a big shakeup, and if Trump really pushes for the Mar-a-Lago Accords, game-changing, big shakeup. So a prolonged period in which the markets take time to adjust to new realities and settle becomes potentially more likely than this instant V-shaped recovery, although I still think May and June have a lot of potential for being bullish. Although markets, they can always surprise. And a lot of people right now are very afraid and think that we're not going to get new highs or even a big rally anytime soon, which makes it think that it could be more possible than people think. Now, before we break down the big goal here, and if history can actually repeat itself to the positive side. A quick shout out to today's sponsor. Do you want a bank that lets you spend, save, and invest in both fiat and in crypto all in one spot? Then look no further than the Mantle Network, because they've got you covered. Mantle Banking creates a seamless experience by unifying fiat and crypto banking experiences in one place. Imagine this, receiving your fiat salary, converting it straight into a stable coin, all in the same application, and then start earning some yield on it. And that's not all. Mantle also has the Mantle Index 4, which is backed by $400 million anchor investment from the Mantle Treasury, and that offers a game-changing solution for anyone seeking a very efficient beta exposure to the cryptocurrency markets without the complexities of needing to go and hold all these different coins and all these different chains. Imagine it as the S&P 500, but for crypto. All from an ecosystem with a $4 billion treasury backed by one of the most trusted names in the cryptocurrency industry, which is Bybit. Go check it out if you want to learn more about what they're doing. Link down below. The Trump administration has made its intentions wildly clear. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said outright, Trump's tariff policies have begun the process of reorienting our international economic relations. He spoke about Main Street taking priority over Wall Street, and Trump defended market disruption by saying, sometimes you have to take some medicine to fix something. Although, to be fair, Trump is also putting out statements that sound like an NFT dev planning to slow rug pulls, so you got that happening too. Still though, agree with it or not, there is a plan, man, and it doesn't currently favor equities or crypto as much as we might like to think that it does. It needs time to play out, and that could take your expectations to Q3, Q4, for example, instead of instant V-shaped recovery back to all-time highs next month, although that could still happen with global M2 and all that stuff. Now, the question is, can history repeat again for Bitcoin? Because an alternative scenario is that this cycle ends just as the previous cycle did, a euphoric blow-off top when the bubble bursts and everybody thinks they're going to go higher forever. However, a big difference this time is that the market is much more mature. There are ETFs, large holders who aren't operating with excess leverage, and there is more efficiency in the market, meaning less likelihood of blowups and collapses, fewer questions about whether crypto is dead, massive regulatory support, the fact the USA is going to be buying, all that kind of stuff, ultimately less volatility for Bitcoin, although it doesn't necessarily extend to your altcoin bags. Expect those to get slaughtered on every downturn. Also, keep in mind that this cycle has already been pretty unusual. We had a new all-time high pre-Bitcoin halving, never happened before. No real full crazy altcoin season. We had some meme coin bullshit, but that was just bullshit for the most part, with insiders and criminals getting rich. So in some ways, it's already unique. With estimates that global M2 could pump well into 2026, the fact that the business cycle right now is at the bottom, not even near the top, not at the bottom, okay? There could be a big upside surprise and length surprise to how long the cycle actually runs. Everybody's thinking it's over now and we're entering a multi-year bear market. What if it's just starting and we're entering a multi-year bull phase? But there's also another comparison to consider. Isn't this just like summer of 21? Back in the summer of 21. Look, as a reminder, the bull market of 2021 had a huge double top with a gigantic crash in the middle over that summer. So, are we going to get a similar situation this year? After all, there are plenty of major new positives for crypto. The Trump admin is pro-crypto. The SEC is now crypto-friendly. Institutional interest is absolutely here and real. These are all long-term shifts in the structure and the participants in the market. Also, Trump, relatively unpredictable president, he might see his tariff gamut just end up in some deals made and claim a big victory and move on, and then buy 1 million Bitcoin for America. Afterwards, of course, he's going to focus on dominating midterms. Remember that midterm campaigning will actually start later this year and would be helped by markets being robust, because then they can say, look, we're the Republicans, we're the party that makes everybody rich. Plus, global M2 up. I know I keep going on about that, but it's important because we have high correlation to it. Bitcoin price might follow, especially in May and June. In that case, a bull market revival is definitely not out of the question, and we'd get a short, bearish interlude, which we're kind of having right now. Before the 4-year cycle peak, maybe in October or November of this year, and then maybe a proper bear market if, of course, we don't have a just wildly uncorrelated market, anything we've ever seen before in crypto, and we just pump right into 2026. No top till May 26. Now, maybe this scenario sounds more unlikely due to political uncertainty, but political headline risk is downside, but also upside. There's upside risk too on positive news. Trump announcing that 90-day tariff pause in every country except China was an upside headline risk because China, now they're not playing ball. Stocks and crypto immediately woke up. Goldman Sachs withdrew its recession calls. Like that, the narrative flipped. So you can see why it's so important to stay alert to the news right now and to not get overly doomer on everything. It's easy to think this is the end of all things every time the markets go down, but it's usually not. In fact, it almost never is. So how do you play this market if you're a long-term Bitcoin holder? You keep holding. If you're actively trading, then until certainty is restored around trade and tariffs in the macro environment, it looks likely that bounces will be sold if we're not in a buy the dip environment, in which case you can make money by longing those bounces, taking profits aggressively, shorting when you get rejection, set the EMAs and stuff like that. But that'll end at some point. A trend reverse will happen and you'll need to flip your bias when it does. I don't think the cycle's done yet. Of course, there's always the possibility that it is, and everything Trump's doing has already caused so much damage that it's irreversible, and we have to have a bear market to wash it all out. But if that uncertainty in markets resolves, we could get some huge rips higher with rate cuts coming, business cycle bottomed, inflation falling, global M2 rising, trade fears cooling. We actually look primed for that uptrend to resume soon after this major downtrend, a mini bear market, if you will. And when we break the bearish downtrend, avoiding Armageddon, ... for now, okay, markets will go. Finally, keep in mind the average bear market lasts only 289 days. The average bull market lasts 991 days. So even if we do get a bear market, just toughen up, guys. We'll be fine. We'll be fine, okay? Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It'll recover. You'll only have to wait a year or 2 or 3 or 4. Shit. Anyway, thanks for watching.